Hey guys, Math 1700 linear functions. This is going to be your first video. Let me tell you what's going on here. There's a video that I created from summer 2015 on introduction to linear functions that I'm going to use, and this video will kind of transition into that one. But there's a couple of things you have to keep in mind. Okay, first of all, it's not summer 2015, so ignore that part of the heading. There's also in the video there's a reference to a Sunday due date. Ignore that. As I explained in the previous video, all assignments are due Tuesday at 11:45 p.m. So ignore the Sunday reference, Sunday due date reference for your assignment. Your assignment is due Tuesdays at 11:45 p.m. On my math lab. So other than that, everything's pretty clear. Well, except for one other thing. What I'm going to teach you partly in this class is how to use your calculator to find, for example, let's say that we have the points, I don't know, say 2, -2, and 7, -17. And we want to find, excuse me, we want to find the equation of the line that passes through these 2 points. Well, I'm going to show you on your calculator how to do this a very, very easy way, but sometimes it gets kind of complicated because different calculators have different operating systems, and the way you enter the information is different. So let me show you, and I didn't cover that well in the video, so that's why I want to cover it here. So guys, for example, if your calculator, the operating system works like this, I'm going to show you what to do. So gang, we have the points 2, -2, and of course this is the x part, that's the y part, this is the x part, that's the y part. And what I do is I teach you how to set up the points in your list editor and use kind of a cheating way to come up with the equation of the line. So what I would do is I would hit, to do this, I would hit the Stat button and go to Edit, so just hit Enter, and then I would have my list editor. Now, if you've got information in there and you need to get rid of that, which, if you've taken a stats class previously, the way you do that, instead of deleting all of them one by one, is just go up and highlight the list, L1, and then hit Clear, Enter. And what that'll do, it'll get rid of all the numbers in the list, but it won't completely wipe out your list. Now, if you have some numbers there and you do this and you go up and get sloppy and highlight L1 and hit delete, it'll take you literally. It will delete the list heading. And of course, you can get that back, but it takes a little work. So guys, just do it the right way. Clear, Enter, and the numbers are gone. Now, what we see is in this problem, we have 2 x's. We have a 2 and a 7. So I'm going to put my x's in L1, and then I'm going to put my y's in L2, and my y's here are -2 and -17. Now guys, make sure you choose the right negative sign when you put this in. So -2, if you use this right here, the subtraction sign, it's going to give you an error. The subtraction sign has to come after a number, like 6 minus 9, that would be the appropriate operation. But when you want to assign a number a negative sign, it has to be this one right here. So -2, hit Enter, and our other one was what, -17? Yeah. So in essence, you've got, on the first line, you've got your first x and y. On the second line, you've got your second x and y. Now, if you set that up correctly, you can go to Stat, go over to Calc, come down to linear regression ax plus b, and I'll explain that in just a second. And then you do the following commands. You go, I'll tell you what, this is not exactly as clear as I want it to be. All right, that looks a little clearer. Now what you'll do now is you'll hit your left parentheses. And what I'm trying to get now is I'm trying to get this L1. Well, notice it's blue. So I have to come up and hit the blue key before hitting it. Then I hit my comma, which is right above the 7. And then I hit my L2. And guys, what this will do is it'll find the equation of the line that passes through the 2 points. So if I hit enter, the equation of my line pertains to a -3 and a +4. Well, from the format that you have right here, and this is something I'll teach in the video, the number that goes with the x is called your slope. And the symbol or the letter they use for that is A. So I know that A is -3, so I know I have -3x. And I know B, which is my intercept, is 4, so I have -3x plus 4. So you can use your calculator to find the equation of the line being y equal -3x plus 4. Now, fine and dandy, but some of you, as you walk through those steps with me, you probably recognize that you have a different type of calculator, a different operating system. And guys, there's no problem with that. We can handle that, and it's going to happen from time to time. So anyway, same thing. Go to Stat, go to Edit. I've only got 2 numbers in each, so I'm just going to type over those. So my first x is 2. My second x is 17. So my x's go under L1. And then I have to go over and look at the 2. Its y value is -2. And the y value for 7 is -17. Okay, so that sets up exactly the same way it did with the other operating system. But what happens now is when I go to Stat and go over to Calc and come down to number 4, I will notice that I get something different. And it's got just a different operating system, a different way of putting the information in. Well, guys, what you want here is you want the numbers that you put in L1 to be your x. So I would hit the second L1, just like I did before, the second L2, and just come on down and hit calculate. And guys, what this is going to do, it's going to find the same thing, same slope of -3, same intercept of +4, and so on. So that clears things up. In this video, you're going to get into cost and revenue and profit functions, but I start out looking at defining slope and defining intercept, and just kind of refamiliarizing you with those concepts. But when we get into application problems, it's much easier to use your calculator to find the slope and the intercept, and then that gives me more time to focus on kind of business application terminology. So guys, enjoy the video. Again, it's going to say it's summer 2015. We all know it's not. But there was so much in this video that I did that I liked. I didn't really see any reason to replicate it. So guys, take care. Enjoy. Hey guys, Math 1700, summer 2015, linear functions. Couple of things before we get started. I've been kind of bombarded with issues about my math lab and the textbooks. Keep in mind on my math lab that a couple things. You don't need the textbook. We're going to write the textbook as we go along. As long as you're watching all these videos, I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to know, and I'm going to tell it to you and teach it to you easier than what the textbook does. I'm going to show you the shortcuts, the tricks of the trade, things of that nature. It's not always going to be easy. Sometimes it's going to be challenging. Sometimes you have to work a little harder than maybe you want, but it's doable. In terms of the book, the point I tried to make in the previous video, the first video, is you don't have to have the book, but you got to have my math lab. And what you can do in my math lab, I think there's a 14-day free activation. So if nothing else, go in. If you don't have your text, if you don't have the money to sign up for the activation, go ahead and get your 14-day free activation. You can always upgrade that. You can pay for it, or you can go in and purchase a textbook from the bookstore. They'll give you an activation code. You can go in and manually enter it and get things going. Okay, guys, what I want to do today is just get the ball rolling on linear functions. And guys, at the end of the day, linear functions are just those types of graphs, types of relationships, if you will, that form straight lines. There are two important components of a linear function. One of those is the point at which it crosses the y-axis. Now guys, remember in the Cartesian coordinate system, this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis. So this value right here, which we will refer to as B, is the point at which our line crosses the y-axis. Another important component is called the slope, and the slope is just the steepness of the line. So guys, lines that go up to the right, we say that these things have a positive slope. Lines that go up to the left, we say that those things have a negative slope. And lines that are flat, which you don't want to see if you're in a hospital, those things have a zero slope. Now we also run into lines that have an undefined slope, but in an applied course of this nature, we don't run into those very much, okay? So the ones that we're going to run into typically, because we're going to be looking at linear relationships as they deal with revenue and cost and profit, and ultimately supply and demand, the ones that we're going to run into mostly are either going to have a positive slope or a negative slope. And the slopes and intercepts are going to take on certain economic and business terminology, okay? Now, all linear functions come in the form that I'm giving you here. They come in the form of y equals some number times x plus another number. Now these numbers don't have to be positive. For example, we could have y equals negative 2x plus 7. The number that goes in front of the x is always going to be referred to as our slope. The number that goes without the x is referred to as our intercept. Now sometimes we call those y-intercepts, and that's fine in a standard beginning algebra course or intermediate algebra course where we're dealing with x's and y's. But in an applied course like this, sometimes we have graphs where our x variable may be q, which is some quantity, and our dependent variable may be c of q, which is a cost as a function of a particular q. So we might have some linear function that we define as c of q, where some particular quantity will result in a particular cost. Okay? We're going to run into revenue functions and cost functions and profit functions, supply and demand functions, which all take on a linear relationship. Now, one of the first things that we do in a course of this nature to try to get where we want to be is create the equation of a line given 2 points. All right? So I can just very quickly, I don't want to be too formal here, I can see that 1, 4 would be maybe something like this. And the negative 2, 13 would be something like this. So I can see when I connect those 2 points that I'm going to have, I didn't do a very good job of connecting the points, so pretend that line goes through those 2 points. But I can see that I'm going to have a line with a negative slope, and I can see within some reasonable certainty that my y-intercept is going to be positive where it crosses the y-axis. Well, I can stop speculating here, and I can go ahead and start making some things happen, okay? So guys, in coming up with the equation of the line, if we want to do these things manually, now I'm going to show you a really easy way here in just a second where you don't have to do these things manually, but I think in terms of preparing us for bigger, better things to come, or at least other things to come, I don't know whether bigger or better, it's good to run through how we find the equation of a line that passes through 2 points. The first thing I would want to do here is I would want to calculate the slope. And guys, keep in mind that the function that we are trying to create here is in form of y equals mx plus b. I don't know why my thing does that, but it does. So guys, remember the number that goes in front of the x is referred to as the slope, and the number that goes without the x is called the intercept. So the very first thing I'd want to do here is I'd want to find the slope. And the slope formula is to take the difference in our y's over the differences in our x's. Now we've got the flexibility in these 2 ordered pairs up here, these two points, of which one we call x1 and which we call, guys, I messed up there. That should be x2 minus x1. x2 minus x2 would give you 0, which give you major problems. So what I would do here is I would call this x1, y1, and I would call this x2, y2. So in finding the slope here, I would put in y2, which is 13, minus y1, which is 4, over x2, which is negative 2, minus 1. So guys, I'm going to get 9 over negative 3, which tells me that my slope is negative 3. Now, I don't know everything I need to know about my line up here, my equation, but I know a negative 3 is going to go there. I know that my function is y equal negative 3x plus something. So I've just got to determine what that something is. So I found out from number 1 that my slope is negative 3. Now guys, what does that tell you? Remember, slope equals rise over run. And rise is nothing more than the change vertically over the change horizontally. The change up and down over the change left to right. Now, when we look at this slope equals rise over run, we see that we need a fraction, but we don't. We just have negative 3. Well, it turns out when we have this in the context of a slope, we have to turn this into a fraction, because there's 2 parts there. There's a change that we get vertically and the change that we get horizontally. So this tells me that for every negative 3 units that I change going up and down, I need to make 1 unit change going left to right. So if you can imagine starting at some arbitrary point on a line, negative 3 says we're going to move down 1 point, 2 points, 3 points. For every move that we go to the right one. So this slope that we're going to have is going to look something like that. Now the second thing we need to do is we need to find our intercept. And what we know right now is we know that y equals negative 3x plus something. Well, I've got an x and a y. In fact, I've got two of them from my points. So if I can just insert one of those values, so I should say sets of values, into what I'm given, then I can easily solve for my b. Well, guys, I'm sitting there looking at the points 1, 4 and negative 2, 13. Well, I'm going to choose 1, 4 because I don't like to deal with negative numbers. Negative times negatives and subtraction, it's just harder. And plus, I like smaller numbers because they're just easier to deal with. So I know that my y value is 4. So now I'm using the ordered pair 1, 4. So I know that when my y value is 4, my slope is negative 3. My x value is 1. And I have my b value. Now let's clean this up. One thing I've noticed about teaching math and statistics over the years is the good students go ahead and write extra times. The students who usually make mistakes try to do things in too many kind of mental arithmetic, if you will. So let's just go ahead and write that out and get rid of all that kind of garbage there and make it as simple as we can. And that tells me on both sides I can see clearly I need to add positive 3, which leads me to a b value of positive 7. So gang, I can put all this together and I can say that my function that contains the points 1, 4 and negative 2, 13 is going to be negative 3x plus 7. Now, I've been doing this a long time, and, well, I don't guess I've been doing it that long, but I've been doing it long enough that I just know that students struggle with that. They just do. It's just something that I've just noticed from teaching high school. I've taught at the University of Kentucky. I've taught at a community college. And of course, I've been here at Shawnee State for 21 years. I've seen students struggle with that. Now, I want you to be able to do this, but I'm going to show you a way on your calculator that if you just have struggled and struggled and struggled, and it just seems like it doesn't matter how hard you try, it just doesn't seem like you're able to, problem after problem, be successful finding the equation of a line through 2 points. Equation of a linear function through 2 points, okay? So I'm going to show you what you can do. So guys, if you'll go to Stat and go to Edit, you're going to get to the list. And this allows us to put data into our list. Well, hold on guys, I got FedEx guy. All right, guys, let me just go ahead and explain it. That's going to happen. It seems like every time I start a video, the UPS guy comes or the FedEx guy comes. It seems like the dogs start barking. I only have one dog, but you'd think I had 15, as many dogs as hang out in my house. But okay, I'm done complaining. All right, gang, something for you. What we can do here in this list, this L1 and L2, which you have seen, is we can come up with this negative 3x plus 7 really, really easy. Now, ultimately, I'd like for you to be able to find the slope and intercept by hand. I think that just mathematically, that's just a fundamental thing that we should be able to do. But some people just can't. So what we can do is we can, or they just, for some reason, just can't be successful with it for every problem. So what we can do is we can think of our points, 1, 4, negative 2, 13, like this. So essentially what I can do is I can put my x's in L1, I can put my y's in L2, and I've got ordered pair number 1, ordered pair number 2, and I'm going to show you how to do this on your calculator to where you can easily find the function or the equation of the line that passes through those 2 points. So guys, what would I do? I would do 1 and negative 2. And then I'm going to go over to the L2 and I'm going to put in the points there. So I'm going to put in a 4 and a 13. Now let me show you something, and I should have shown you this before. Let's say you've already got numbers there and you want to get rid of them and you don't want to go through and just go delete everywhere. If you want to delete a bunch of numbers but not get rid of your entire list, so if I want to delete that 1, 3, 5, 7 but keep my list there, what I could do is go up and highlight the list and just hit clear, enter. And what will happen is it'll delete the numbers, but it won't delete the entire list. Now, if you've got some numbers in there like this, and you say, well, I want to delete the numbers in there, and you go up there and you hit delete, well, it'll take you literally, it will delete the numbers and everything, because you can get that back. So if that ever happens to you, we can get it back for you. All right, gang. I've got my numbers in L1 and L2, so now I want to go second function quit. I want to go back to my stat button. I want to go over to calc. And I want to scroll down to number 4, which says LINREG. Now, that actually stands for linear regression, which is a statistical technique. But we can use the calculator to our advantage to create the equation of the line that passes through those 2 points using this feature of the calculator. So what I can do is hit enter, and then I'll go left parentheses, which is right above the 8. And then I can go L1, L2. Guys, if you look at your keys, 1, 2, 3, you can see right above that in blue letters, you have L1, L2, L3, where we put our information. Since it's blue, I got to hit the blue key first and hit the L1. Then I need to hit my comma and blue key again, L2, and then hit my right parentheses. Now, wham bam, thank you, man. Something really, really cool is going to show up. The negative 3 and the 7 that took us quite a bit of time to find by hand. Okay? And you can see right here that the A equal negative 3 tells you that the number that goes in for A, which is the number before the X, which we now know is the slope, that the slope has to be negative 3, and that the intercept is 7 because 7 is our B value and it doesn't go with the X. So whatever goes with the X is the slope, whatever doesn't go with the X is the intercept. Now, this feature allows me as your finite math professor to make it really, really, really easy on you to find linear functions. But that way we got, I have more time to spend doing other cool stuff, okay? So speaking of cool stuff, I have a, oh, by the way, your assignment has been posted on my math lab. It's due Sunday night, just as I promised you, okay? Now, the cost of producing 100 widgets is $2,000. And the cost of producing 700 widgets, hold on, I've got something popping around here and I don't know what it is. Oh, a new version. Yeah, we'll pass on that one for right now. Okay. So the cost of producing 700 widgets is $5,500, and the cost of producing 700 widgets is 5,500. So it says find the cost function C of n, which relates the number of produced items n with cost C. Round the slope and intercept to the nearest hundredths. Now, I'm going to take this away just for a second, and let's talk a little bit about function notation. And I remember seeing function notation, I think, my first year in college, and I remember thinking, why in the world are they changing something that I'm good at? Why do I need to learn something new when what I'm doing now is currently working? For example, I had the points 1, 4, and negative 2, 13. And I wanted to find, in terms of x's and y's, I wanted to find the relationship between these. I did that. So why mess with it? Why do I have to learn function notation? Well, a couple of reasons. Function notation allows us to I guess, communicate more effectively. It allows us to simplify the questions that we ask. And maybe you're one of these learners just because we do. So given that y is a function of x, we can come in and rewrite this, since these are the same thing. Sorry about the negative 3 thing there. I should go in front of the x, but I got kind of sloppy. We can rewrite in standard xy form that equation, that function, in terms in terms of function notation. What that allows us to do is, let's say that I want to find the value, that's sloppy gas, of y when x is equal to 2. In function notation, all I have to say is find f of 2. So f of 2 would say every place you see an x, change it with a 2. So our function value would be positive 1. So it simplifies finding values of functions using this notation. Now, it's really, really, really handy when we have functions that actually mean something. And what I mean is the 1, 4 and negative 2, 13. Those are just x's and y's that I made up just for an illustration. But guys, in our problem right here, we have cost of widgets and number of widgets. So we are setting up where n is the number or the quantity, and C of n is the cost as a function of the number or the quantity. Okay? So guys, what we know is that C of 100 is equal to 2,000, because it says the cost of producing 100 widgets is 2,000. So when n is equal to 100, the cost is 2,000. And we also know that C of 700 is equal to 5,500. Anytime we're given function notation, we can create the equal order pairs. This tells us when x, in this case is n, is 100. Our y value is 2000. When x is 700, or n is 700, our function value is 5500. So guys, in this case, we're generically used to having x or y as a function of x, but because of the nature of the problem, we've decided to call our dependent variable n and we've decided to call our independent variable n, our dependent variable c of n. Now, we want to find a cost function. Have we seen anything like this before, where we have two ordered pairs and we want to create the linear function? Absolutely, we just did it. We just did it with 1, 4, and we just did it with negative 2, 13. So when I look at this, I think, now wait a minute. I just worked a problem like that. That looks like that with just different numbers. So if what Dr. Darbro showed me on the video or in class, whatever it may be, worked up here, why won't it work down here? Well, that's the way you learn mathematics, guys. You look for patterns. You repeat success. So, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. Part A says find the cost function C of n that relates the number of produced items n with the cost around the slope and intercept to the nearest hundreds. Well, I don't know about you, but I like to do things the simplest way. And you can say, well, Dr. Darbro showed me this way that works, and it worked before, right? So I have one amount of 100 and another amount of 700. So those are the quantities, or n. Now the cost that went with 100 is 2,000. And the cost that went with 700 is 5,500. Now, what did we do before? We went to stat. Actually, we didn't. Guys, I'm sorry. What we did first is we went second function quit. Yeah. Then we went and quit. Your second function and your quit button is right there. So to get out, once you enter your two ordered pairs, go second function quit to get out of that so you can perform the operation. Now, kind of weird, but you go back in there. All right, we went over to calc. We went down to number 4, so I'm just going to hit number 4. And I went left parentheses, second function 1, comma, second function 2, right parentheses. And I get my answer. Now, it says round the slope and intercept to the nearest hundredths. So, gang, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to write my final answer. So, guys, here I'm going to have C of n. My slope is 5.83 n. And I have 1416.67. Hundredths means two places. So gang, that's going to be the answer